Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
Hello friends, today we are going to talk about two different things. Number one is the challenges that we face in our management and in our environment, which is our global environment. And at the same time, we are also going to talk about what are the remedies to these challenges to put them back in place and to run things smoother and easily. Challenge number one, since you've seen the slide behind, it talks about lack of clarity. So this is the first and foremost challenge every management faces or every business faces. That is, there is an extremely lack of clarity. People are not clear in giving certain instructions and holding people accountable. I don't know why that happens, but communication gap is 70% out of the entire issues that is created in an organization. 70% mistakes are made due to communication gap. That's it. So there are a lot of misunderstandings, there are a lot of miscommunication that happens because of lack of clarity. That is one major thing when it comes to lack of clarity. The other major thing is, while we work in team, there are a lot of other employees along with us who have different mother tongues or language or native tongues, I would say. Here, the major common key messages are lost because there is a lost in translation. There are many messages which are not taken rightly or correctly because of certain native tongue languages gap, because of which the narration is lost and the translation is extremely ruined. So if someone has said something in some genre, it's taken into consideration in some other genre. Here, there have to be people who can really translate things very well to help not create the gap for not understanding how clear are we on certain points. So it's very important, friends, to not only be clear at communication but also to be clear in our translation. One more way where we can lack in clarity is also where we have very bad or poor phone connections. Now these are certain technical issues which ruin our communication from reaching from one level to another. Very poor phone connection lines and multitasking them to reach up to a certain level or to talk to some people or members, that is checking email. So these poor phone connections do not allow us to communicate well with the people, and then creating a lot of goof up in understanding what exactly was said and what message was received. Along with this, there are another issues when it comes to communicating clearly, which is writing skills. Now, this is something which are more focused on emails. So companies who are email based or emails process focused, which now normally all the companies are, here the problem is that while we are on our emails, there are a lot of writing skills that we cannot impose properly, which completely changes the meaning of the sentences. That is why it leads to a different understanding of the entire situation with a different level. Like, many people do not understand a simple difference between please and kindly. So if I ask that when is kindly used and when is please used in your sentence while writing a mail, many people are lost, they do not understand. Whereas please is a request that we ask for from our bosses or superiors, whereas kindly is like an order which we can pass to our subordinates that we want kindly this work has to be delivered at this time. So it's like an order, but many people think that kindly is a more soft spoken word and that's how we can say a request, but which is not the right thing. So there are a lot of corrections that we need to understand in our own language, which makes our emails horrifying. That's one major thing why we are very poor communicators if we are not able to write things the way they should sound like. The another level of communication when nowadays that when we put our calls on conferences, here because of certain technical issues and certain communication gaps and certain language barriers, the conference calls do not sync with each other that they have to, and the first round only it comes out to be negative with some different kind of discussions. So these are certain things that majorly challenge our management, which is lack of clarity in these different aspects. So it's not one aspect that we are talking about. It's not only verbal or oral, it's also written, it's also language, it's so many things which are the barriers of communication and barriers for understanding things clearly. Now, this is the first major challenge. How can we put it in place? So what is the remedy of these challenges? Put action items and key decisions in writing only. So instead of having a lot of verbal discussions, we have to have a pattern of putting everything into writing and taking in the subject matter expert who can do the writing very well with amazing writing skills. Now here, there are certain tests that can be conducted to understand how well that person is writing, and certain subject matter experts to be in place just to identify whether this person is excellent at his writing skills. And only that person should be responsible of taking written things ahead where it comes to decision making. Follow-up conference calls with clear written communication on the outcomes of the meeting. So agenda and outcomes of the meeting can be discussed over follow-up and very clear communication written down as a mail and dropped out to different people of the agenda and the outcomes of the meeting. This ensures everyone walked away from the meeting with the same key takeaways. So when we have 10 outcomes of the meeting that was placed today, and all these 10 outcomes I have handed out to all the 10 people of what all was discussed and what was the takeaway, we are actually on the same page. Whereas many organizations I have seen that they end up doing a lot of meetings, so many hours of meetings together, but they finally do not send the agenda of the meeting before the meeting comes up, or they do not send the outcomes of the meeting or minutes of the meeting that were done in the meeting. So these 2-3 things have worked in place for the first challenge. These are the best remedies that can solve the issues. Since you can see on the next slide, it talks about the next challenge, the challenge number 2, which is slow decision making. Now, why does this happen? First of all, that's because when there is only a few hours of a day of common awake time, it can take weeks to get a meeting sorted and schedules that works for everyone's calendar. So if we keep on thinking that who's available for what time and then we cannot come up with a date, definitely the meeting keeps on postponing, and we cannot come up to a date where we all can meet and we can discuss as one. Adding the lack of clarity, as we said in the first prior challenge, and discussion making, which is anyway slow, can happen as a snail pace. So like a snail's pace, we take only one decision in a month because we actually did not figure out who were free to come in that meeting. At the same time, we were not even clear at the communication. So if we came up who was free, say once in a week, communication gap. Next week, lack of minutes of the meeting. Third week, conference calls didn't happen very well. Fourth week, emails not translated really well. So, and finally, fifth week, we move a little ahead to next step when everything's are now clear and sorted. So imagine the organization moves to a snail's pace, and that's only because we are really slow in making decisions. So slow decision making is something which really hampers the entire organization's growth and the quickness or the fastness of an organization to grow to the fullest. What remedies can we select when we talk about this particular challenges? Communicate strategies and direct face-to-face whatever possible. There are certain strategies which needs to be communicated very clearly, and there are certain directions which needs to be given face-to-face whatever, whenever possible. There are many CEOs of the company I know who fly down from places to places just for a very clear strategizing to the different employees at the different branches, wherever it is pan-India or across the board. At the same time, they not only fly down for the strategies but also to directing them face to face of whatever is possible. Organizations actually hire people who can travel, and their main criteria is someone who can travel, say 15 days in a month. So these persons are responsible to traveling at a particular sector given to them for making communications really clear and face-to-face encountering whatever is possible. And then there is another leader who's stationed, who takes place and who takes it ahead and sees to it that the next time that we have meeting, whatever after 15 days it is, and sees to it that the work is done and it's passed on. So this is something that we really need to understand, because we are moving globally ahead, we are in a global environment, and if you're talking about globally, it's very difficult as a management. It's the biggest challenge to hand over the management to the right people, and people who really know how to run the management very well, really focus on doing things, communicating it strategically very right and correct, at the same time directing each and everyone face to face. Video conferencing is also a very great tool that we can use right now for helping teams feel more present in the meetings, at the same time giving participants the ability to sense their own body languages and the others' body languages and tones. Since we are anyways moving into new technology, definitely person to person is very different at a different level and the most important. But then, since we are moving to a global environment, why not take the utmost advantage of these tools like Skypes, like the chats which allow you to see videos, like the video chatting, or anything to do, or the clouds, so anything to do with a video chat which can help in video conferencing people, and they can see actually virtually all the people's body languages, and they are on the same pitch, same tone, for them to feel present at wherever they are, as if they are present in a meeting. A regular in-person meeting is also very much important, most important, to boost their morals and to increase the collaboration. So after, suppose these conference meetings are done, then the managers have to take the lead to boost these people morals and to keep them collaborated with each other. When clarity is provided through face-to-face meetings, the speed of the business and execution is much faster than any other thing. So this will make the work much perfect and much faster in taking decisions which were so slow initially. The next slide talks about the third challenge, which is disjointed conflict resolution. Friends, there are a lot of myths about conflict. Conflict is something which is very positive for an organization. Conflict gives us stress, which is also positive. But if the conflict is only related to the work and the work in an organization, there is a level which is called conflict management. We will be doing conflict resolution as a proper different chapter entirely. To tell you in short what a conflict is altogether, is conflict is nothing but negotiating to come to reach to a win-win situation. Conflict's next level is conflict management, where everyone should be amazing experts to understand how to manage their conflicts in a workplace. And the last level is conflict resolution. Unless and until the conflict is not resolved, the problem is not solved. So even if you have managed your conflict, that doesn't mean the conflict is resolved. So a disjointed conflict resolution is the major challenge of the entire management as a global environment. Working predominantly through emails makes it difficult to deal with tough languages and makes it also difficult to be people or everyone on the same page. Many a times it happens that not only over the mails but also through our tones and body language, also people think of us differently if the portray is different or the mindset is different. So many a times it's not necessary that only the emails makes the goof up. In fact, a person who's standing in front of you would portray a certain body language of attitude maybe, which can be taken very wrongly, creating a major conflict. Now these are certain things which lead or play a very big role in communication, and without these nuisances, delicate situations can be very hard to manage correctly. Majorly conflicts happen not only because of work, because of a lot of attitudes and behavioral issues. So it's very important, friends, to understand your behavioral skills, to have them rightly in place, and to keep your attitudes and not arrogance. That again, there is a difference between attitude and arrogance. Attitude is something which you portray for a certain betterment, and arrogance is something that you have in you, can get things ruined from bad to worst and horrifying. So friends, it's very important to understand that this is the major challenge where we are facing in every management. If you've seen, you must have gone to the corporate world and you've seen that the head CEOs have a hell lot of attitude. They are not down to earth at all. In fact, these are the people who don't even know who are the employees working for them. They're very less CEOs, or they're very few of certain AVP or VP level of people who would come have lunch with their employees to interact and to understand who are we working with at the ground level. So friends, this is a major challenge that we are facing into a management world. There are remedies to it as well, and let's see what the remedies are. Simply pick up the phone. It's as good as communicate personally and communicate clearly, with keeping all your airs out and understanding only for your organization performance. It has nothing to do with your personal per se. So never communicate tough messages via mails, as written messages can easily be misunderstood. So have simple mails rather than having complicated and jargons in your mail. Just have simple mails to reach up to the point and target, and that's it, rather than beating around the bush. Be speaking live to the individual on one-on-one interaction or conversation. You are much more likely to understand one another and communicate effectively without having conflicts then. So there is no chance of conflict resolution. It says, continuation of the video. It's said that precaution is better than cure. Why to have conflicts and then think of resolution, rather than that let's not have conflicts. But anyway, if you have conflicts, let's have that kind of strengths and ability also to get it to the resolution. So friends, this is one thing. Behavioral skills are something which are amazingly important to understand. I would definitely take an entire chapter on conflict resolution, which will help you to understand this in deeper and better. As you can see on the next slide, the challenge 4, the fourth one, is conflicting corporate culture. Now let's move on from the organization to the corporate culture. And what does it say? Conflicting corporate culture, as in, great companies' culture depends on constant interactions and bondings amongst the employees. Now, sounds good, but at times it's very difficult, because if we are globally known and if we believe in only communicating and interacting majorly, it does happen that the global terms to define, implement, and ultimately achieve becomes harder. It's a real challenge. I'm not saying it cannot be achieved, but it's a real challenge. But a remedy to it would be invest in cultural training. So this is the time where the consultants like us, so like consultants and trainers like me, can come in place to help them advise in certain manner, in certain skills and aspects. Why do you think an outside trainer is hired rather than keeping a trainer within? There are a lot of companies, there are a lot of organizations and corporates who have inbuilt trainers as well. But if you see, majorly these inbuilt trainers are most of process trainers, product trainers, or technical trainers. Now these are the trainers who work on implementing their daily routines to get it into a better position. But someone who wants to come up with certain skills like leadership skills, motivational skills, team building skills, conflict resolution skills, and all these kinds of behaviors and certain operation skills or mixed skills, there is a consultant or a trainer who is hired from outside who can come and who can talk with the employees to help them resolve their issues. Why does that happen? Is because while we are dealing with the same set of people every day, they are taken into granted, where they understand, people have understood that they are the best technical people or process or product people. So if there's any technical or product issues, the company or the employee knows whom to run to. But when it comes to behavioral issues, they really do not know where to go to. So at that point of time, once they hire a consultant to spend a day with the management team for the cultural training. So these certain trainings are called cultural trainings, or even behavioral trainings, you would say. So a consultant like me can go to a corporate, that's how I go to corporates, to understand and help them in their cultural trainings. The consultants break the teams or split the teams according to their department, work-wise or responsibility-wise. Now, these teams are actually asked majorly 3 questions, which I normally ask. 3 major questions like, what went well, what could have been better, and what went wrong, which gives us an idea of what exactly, where do we stand now, where could we stand, and where are the possibilities of improvement for standing at a different level. At the same time, we also ask them certain personal questions like, what values would you want to inculcate in your children? Now, these questions are asked because at the same time, where we have to understand that we are not machines working in an organization, we are also human beings at the end of the day. There are some values that we add to our life, to our children, to our people, to our parents, and the same values has to be inculcated even in the workplace. Being a leader, all the people who are working under them are like the babies for them to grow and to reach and to enhance to a different level. As a leader, it's very important to inculcate that culture and that attitude in each and every employee and each and every person in his own team to take it to a next level. It is a sake. The Americans said things like self-confidence, motivation, ambition, and intelligent activity or intelligence curiosity, whereas the German emphasized on respect of authority and work ethics. So, jokes apart, the exercise gave each of them a better understanding of how different approaches each culture would have, or how different say can each one have in their own way. So, there are a lot of activities that how one thing can be said in two different ways and how can it be taken very positively. So at the end of the day, the major thing or the major responsibility of the consultant is to bring in a lot of positivity, getting the conflicts resolved, getting the stress management in place, understanding and making them realize that it is a positive stress that they're carrying at work and not the negative one. Without that, they would not succeed. At the same time, also boosting up their morale at a different level for their confidence to boost up in such a level to reach to their target and the business to reach up to their target at the fullest and fastest. After these kinds of sessions, it is guaranteed that the functions are much better and the team works much better in a better direction. There's always a respect for the individual perspective, which the consultants bring in them and shows them or showcases them how can it be better. And these are the times where now they're enhanced as personalities rather than getting themselves enhanced as an employees. So these are certain developments which every organization should look into. Not only behavioral but also cultural training should be conducted at places which will help them to be better humans, because in the race of life, for running for your daily needs and aspects and necessities and luxuries, people actually forget that they are also very, very social, and we are actually called social animals. And to be social, it's extremely important to handle sensitive issues like behaviors, attitudes, and culture. So friends, these are certain remedies and the major challenge that we are facing right now. To come out of it, I have given you certain tips or certain remedies to come out of all these challenges which we are facing right now in our management, where we are talking about the global environment. I hope this gave you a know-how and awareness of what all are the challenges we are facing. I hope I have also been helpful in telling you what all the remedies are that you can start working on from today. I hope it has been a fruitful session for all of y'all who've been listening my video. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please stay tuned to Ekeeda and keep subscribing to our channel. Thank you.